People like to think manipulation only happens in twisted relationships or in movies. But the truth is, we all use subtle tricks, sometimes without even realizing it. They're baked into how we speak, how we act, and how we get what we want. This video isn't about calling anyone out, it's about holding up a mirror. In this video, we are going to talk about the 11 dark psychology tricks most people use, but never admit. You've seen them, you've probably done a few yourself, and once you know how they work, you'll start noticing them everywhere. Some are quiet, some are cruel, but they all say the same thing. People are more strategic than they look. 1. Manipulating silence to make others squirm. We're taught that silence is respectful, but in a lot of cases, it's used to make people uncomfortable on purpose. When someone stays quiet during a conversation, especially when you're expecting a reply, it creates this strange pressure to keep talking. And the more you talk, the more control they have. That's the trick. People who use silence like this know exactly what they're doing. They let the pause drag on, and suddenly you're explaining yourself, justifying things you didn't plan to explain. It's not because they didn't understand, it's because they want you to hand over more than you meant to. In groups, the person who doesn't rush to speak often comes off as the most powerful. Not because they say smarter things, but because they make others work harder to fill the gaps. It forces people to lean in, to wonder what they're thinking. That mystery becomes influence. Silence isn't always neutral. Sometimes, it's louder than any word. If someone is using it and you feel like you're shrinking just to keep the mood smooth, that's not politeness. That's quiet control. 2. Giving half compliments to keep others off balance. You've probably heard one of these. You actually look nice today. Or, that was better than I expected from you. It sounds like a compliment, but it feels like a punch. That's the point. These kinds of comments are designed to knock your confidence while pretending to lift you up. Half compliments make people second-guess themselves. You're left wondering, wait, what did they mean by that? It gets under your skin because you can't respond to it without sounding sensitive or defensive. That confusion is part of the manipulation. Someone who uses these knows they're planting a seed of doubt. They want you to stay a little insecure around them, because the more unsure you feel, the more they can steer how you act. It creates a weird dependence. You start trying to earn full approval that never really comes. These compliments aren't accidents. They're masks for low-key control. If you walk away from praise feeling smaller, not bigger, it's not praise. It's power play disguised as kindness. 3. Using selective attention to make people chase validation. Ignoring strategically to trigger desperate attempts for approval. It's a strange thing, but sometimes the more someone ignores you, the more you want their attention. This isn't about shyness or being busy. This is when someone picks and chooses when to acknowledge you and when to completely pretend you don't exist. When used deliberately, this messes with people. One day they laugh at your jokes, the next they act like you're invisible, and that randomness makes you try harder to be seen. It triggers this reflex to perform, to fix the disconnect, even if you didn't cause it. This trick is everywhere, at work, in friendships, in dating. The manipulator sets the pace. They pull back attention, just enough to make you feel unsteady. And when they finally give you a little approval, it feels like relief, like you earned something. But really, you've just been trained to crave what they give out in pieces. Selective attention is about creating a hook, so you stay hooked. 4. Weaponizing vulnerability to gain power. There's a difference between real vulnerability and using it like bait. Some people share personal stories not to connect, but to control how others see them. They open up just enough to seem honest, just enough to make you feel like you owe them kindness. This trick works because we're wired to be kind when someone seems wounded. But when that softness is used to get out of responsibility or make people back off, it's no longer honest. It's a trap with a sad face. It can look like someone constantly bringing up their past trauma to excuse bad behavior, or someone who always turns a conversation back to how hard things are for them. The goal isn't to share, it's to redirect, to protect themselves from criticism, or to keep the upper hand. Not every sad story is a manipulation, but when someone uses it to dodge responsibility or make others feel guilty for asking more of them, it stops being real and starts being a strategy. 5. Passive-aggressive praise to humiliate without direct attack. This one's sneaky. It sounds like support, but it's loaded with poison. You'll hear things like, "I love how you don't care what people think," or You're so brave for wearing that. On the surface, it sounds positive, but underneath it's meant to sting. The genius of this trick is that it's hard to call out. If you react, they can just say, "I was giving you a compliment, and now you look sensitive," or like you can't take a joke. So you're stuck feeling bad while they walk away clean. People use this when they want to put someone down, but don't want to look cruel. It's especially common in social groups where status games are played quietly. One sentence can shift the spotlight and make the target feel small in front of others. If someone's praise makes you feel humiliated, trust that reaction. It probably wasn't praise at all. It was an insult wearing a smile. 6. Framing themselves as the victim to escape accountability. Sometimes, the easiest way to avoid blame is to play the one who's been hurt. This isn't about actual suffering, it's when someone flips the script the moment they're held accountable. Suddenly, they're the one being attacked. The focus shifts from what they did to how they feel. This move is powerful because it throws people off. When someone starts crying or saying, "I can't believe you're being so harsh with me," it shuts the door on the original issue. Now you're backpedaling, apologizing, comforting them. The topic's been hijacked. It works best in one-on-one relationships, where emotional history makes things messy. You don't want to hurt someone you care about, so you let them dodge the problem. And the cycle repeats. They mess up, play the victim, and skip the consequences. Being hurt doesn't always mean being right. Sometimes it's a mask, a well-timed shift in tone. And the moment you stop addressing the real problem, they've won. 7. Exaggerating flaws to manipulate expectations. Not all self-deprecation is honest. Sometimes people downplay their skills or overstate their flaws to set the bar so low that anything they do afterwards seems amazing. It's not about modesty. It's a setup. You've probably heard someone say, "I'm terrible at this," and then do just fine. The reaction they want is, "Wow, that was actually great." That gap between what they claimed and what they showed becomes a boost. It's a way to control how others respond. If expectations are low, there's less pressure, less criticism, and more praise for doing the bare minimum. It also creates an easy way to excuse failure. "Well, I warned you I wasn't good at this." It may seem harmless, but when done often, it skews how people treat them. It lets them get away with less while receiving more. And over time, it's not honesty, it's strategy. 8. Pretending to agree, then sabotaging from the shadows. Some people nod along and agree in the moment, but behind the scenes, they're working against you. It's not about conflict avoidance, it's about control. Saying yes now gives them space to push back later, when no one's watching. This can show up at work, in families, even in friendships. Someone agrees with your idea in the group, then talks others out of it in private. They don't want a scene, they want their way, quietly. It's a form of revenge that's hard to trace. They didn't say anything mean. They didn't argue. But somehow your plan got derailed, and they're never directly involved. That's the power of fake agreement. It buys time, builds trust, and sets up the fall. This trick works because it gives the illusion of support. And by the time you realize someone wasn't really on your side, the damage is already done. 9. Using social proof as a psychological bludgeon. When someone says everybody agrees or most people think this, they're not giving you facts. They're trying to shut you down. It's a way to make you feel alone in your opinion, even if you're right. Humans are social. We want to belong. So hearing that your view is out of step makes you second-guess yourself. And that's what this trick feeds on. It uses the fear of being different to push people into silence or agreement. This is how bad ideas stick around. Because people are too nervous to challenge what they're told is the popular view. But most of the time, that popularity is made up or exaggerated. The moment someone starts speaking on behalf of everyone, stop and think. Who's everyone, really? Because when opinions become weapons, it's no longer about truth, it's about pressure. 10. Acting powerless to secretly control the strong. Not every power move looks powerful. Sometimes it looks like helplessness. People who act clueless, overwhelmed, or dependent often get others to step in and take charge. But here's the twist. Once you're doing the work, they're steering the ship. They act like they can't do it alone, so you take responsibility. You solve problems, you carry the weight, and they keep control without ever lifting a finger. It's not laziness, it's planned. This happens a lot in close relationships. One person constantly needs help, and the other ends up making all the decisions. But those decisions are being steered quietly, behind the scenes. Helplessness can be a disguise. When someone never seems to manage on their own, but always ends up with the outcome they wanted, you're not helping anymore. You're being used. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.